Okay, people, today let's take a quick look at some of these Marvel Legends that I've had piling up. And yes, I realize that I am extremely lucky to have a few of these. The Savage Land set was exclusive to San Diego Comic-Con, and I picked it up there. That's why there's no package. I do not check luggage. I just want to get off the plane, get out the door. So when it comes to bigger items, out goes the trash around my plastic, stuff it in the backpack, my carry-on, and if I run out of room there, I'm chucking clothes. Because I'd rather have toys. I can always get more clothes. And I was also lucky enough to get my hands on the Target exclusive Gamer-verse Psylocke vs. Thanos. Another item that came and went. It was sold out, and then it hit stores. It actually hit my Target for a day, maybe, and then psh, the Hasbro made-to-order Dragon Man was open for a month last year, I believe. Although they did open it back up last week, and it stayed up for several days. It was kind of tricky. You had to log out of your account and log back in, or refresh the page 4 or 5 times, but it would pop up. Now it's gone again. I'm not even sure if the Amazon-exclusive Masque and Crossbones is still available. Actually, hold on. I'll be right back. Yup, it is still up. In fact, if I ordered it now, I'd get it tomorrow. So, am I even on camera? Same goes for the Amazon exclusive Gamerverse Kingpin. I went ahead and checked that while I was sitting over there. But now we get to the Walmart exclusive 1977 TV show Spider-Man. God dang it. I forgot to check Walmart. It's also still available for $29.97. Was that the original price? I pre-ordered it when it first went up, and then boom, got canceled. It went up again, I think maybe after the price raised up. I got it that time. It got delivered last week. It's still up. The re-release of the retro-carded Jonah Jameson I found at Walmart at one of those big display things they've been putting up in very few Walmarts across the country. And then I actually think this retro-carded Fantastic Four She-Hulk is the only one that's not exclusive to any one store. So I guess you could say this is an exclusive Marvel Legends catch-up day. Mustard day. That joke never gets old, does it? I'm gonna open some stuff, play with it a little bit, see if it was worth my purchase or lugging it home on 2 or 3 airplanes. And then at the end, if you're interested in any of this, things that other channels have reviewed way months ahead of me, then the links are in the description. For the ones that are still available, again, Thanos, Psylocke, Savage Land. Starting with Jonah, because he's the oldest, and honestly, out of all the figures that I'm looking at today, this is probably my least needed. And I say it that way because I had already put together a Jonah Jameson with essentially the same parts. I think the body is the MCU claw with the forearms from a 6-armed Spider-Man, I believe, and then the head from Chameleon. And this retro-carded Jonah is that same sculpt, I believe, just with way better paint apps. The vest, I'm not sure. I don't recognize it from anything. That may be unique for this release, and then the tie, it's all flaring about, because Jonah is always in a huff, needing those pictures of Spider-Man. And while I was content with this made me realize, well, okay, this whole thing is an overlay, so it makes the chest look puffed up, and the shirt is part of the vest. It's another layer, and I feel like these colors just make for a nice, classic comic book character. It's got some earth tones going on. Yeah, it's got a single hinge elbow that only comes up to 90, but I just need my JJJ to point at things, slam newspapers on the table, and yell at Peter Parker. Wish they had updated the pants to the newer sculpt, not the old Coulson's, because it's so finicky to find that sweet spot to stand up. The ankle's in the correct spot, and even then, you can see still leaning forward slightly. But the butt sculpt won't let the legs go back far enough to straighten out the upper torso. And if you get too far, well, okay, make a liar out of me. But it still feels awkward. It's still... But again, it's Jonah. In fact, I may find my old desk and desk chair, sit a minute, and never think about it again. Like I said, he's gonna be pointing at Parker, telling him to get those pictures developed and published. And then I'll change the left to a grip because of this awesome rolled up Daily Bugle. that he can just slam around. Then there's also this flat piece of paper, essentially. I was going to say flat newspaper, but it's one page. There's the front page of the Daily Bugle, and then back here, Electro Speaks Out, Spider-Borg sighting, some other things. In fact, I think this desk set is from an old Raimi Spider-Man movie, J. Jonah Jameson set of some kind. Is this officially Jonah's desk? Parker! Oh, dang, will that fit? It will. Look at that. Okay, that's perfect. For the Fantastic Four retro-carded She-Hulk, it's the same figure as the last She-Hulk we got, just in Fantastic Four uniform and colors. So at the end of the day, no, if you're kidding, there's more to look at. It works because I love this She-Hulk figure. It's big, it's muscular, the hair is amazing with the wash in it. Wait, we're not looking at this one, we're looking at this one. The wash is amazing in it. The face, happy to be a She-Hulk, powerful, just doing her thing. It took me several minutes to realize that the greens are slightly different tints. And at first I thought it was because of the uniform colors, the blue here and the purple here, throwing my eye off. But no, I do believe that the Fantastic Four Jennifer is slightly more yellowish. I think it's most noticeable with the faces against the darker hair with the black wash, because this almost looks like it has highlights on the facial features. This one's just Hulk skin tone. And I can't really pick my favorite. I like this for this one and this for this one. But that does mean that the parts that came with this Jennifer will be noticeably different if you stick them on this Jennifer. You know, kind of like the knees and the elbows. Got them. I don't notice that on the Fantastic Four figure as much, like they got the colors matched better. I will say that they didn't change the lower leg sculpt. It still has the band from the original figure sculpted in there. So it's a little noticeable in the white of the boot, but if that's the only thing that stands out. Okay, I will point out another thing, and I think it has to do with the painted on belt. This She-Hulk seems proportional at a distance, you know, because the belt is riding low on the hips. That's why I prefer overlays to not be glued down. So if it's high, I can put it down, or if you prefer it up, you can put it up. Here, we don't have a say with the painted on thicker belt that is going higher, and it makes the torso seem squat and the legs long. See what I mean? Or is that just me? Maybe I'm just being too nitpicky. Here, I like to crank the torso back slightly to try to add a little bit more length to it, and then bring the head forward. The body is fairly posable with double joints and everything coming up and around, but like all long female hairs that are thick like this, it does get in the way from getting very dynamic, like hunched over and looking up. There is no looking up, but that's plastic on plastic. Thankfully, there is this alternate head, and as much as I love this hair sculpt because that's how I picture the character, this works so much better for action poses. It's much more dynamic. Out of the package, she has two fists, which is a very Hulk-like, but then there's also a right thumbs up, a left peace sign, and then two grips that scared me for a minute. We'll get to the thing she's about to hold, but when I opened it up, I sliced around, opened this, pulled this out, and when I did, this was stuck to it. And so figure, the other accessories, hands, I peeled this back, got these hands, but then when I pulled these dumbbells out and went, okay, those are neat as hell, I'm gonna put those in her hands. Oh, she just has two fists and these expression hands. Then I went back to this, peeled this all the way back, and hiding behind the She-Hulk graphic were the two grip hands. Don't give up hope. Keep looking. Oh, that's awesome. She can have some weightlifting competitions with the upcoming Strong Guy. Yeah, and there is a difference if you put the ponytail head on the first body. You can see the skin tones don't quite match up. Oops, which one was the... Oh, this one goes to the first one. I did make a custom of this a while back with a Metaverse Customs torso, and you can kind of see the difference. The 4 here is actually sculpted in, and I left the belt slung low. So the proportions I like here better, but the blue I like better over here. Plus the way they brought the skin tone up where this looks like a collar. I didn't bring it all the way up. I guess I should have went here. The blue is pretty close to the rest of the Fantastic Four, but the logo is a slightly different font for some reason, but this will work to add to that team, to add to that display, that shelf. Okay, to be honest, I originally was not gonna get this Gamerverse Kingpin. I have the original Build-A-Figure that I thought I was completely happy with, but the more I started looking at this and thinking, well, okay, the proportions, this may be more comic booky, but this feels tougher. I also have the retro carded somewhere that got lost in the renovation shuffle of moving stuff from one room to another and repacking and putting things in tubs and move out, in, out, room, out, shop. I remember liking it. It's very comic booky, but again, this one is very stylized, very stylish. Right off the bat, you could see that the head is different. This is very comic book, and this is Gamerverse, but I would have no problem putting this on a comic shelf. And up until this exact moment, I thought this was reuse of this, at least in the limbs. But now that I have them side by side, the Gamerverse has bigger arms, and it is a different sculpt, and then smaller legs with different articulation at the knees. You can see the deeper angle going forward. There's also different shoes. The new ones are a bit more defined with the details. And the torso is also different. The comic book is thick. Well, you can't hardly tell there, but if you look here, the crotch piece coming, well, okay, first of all, there's a belt sculpt on this one, and it's not as pronounced on the front. That's mostly this vest and jacket overlay, giving it the girth. But you can see it goes straight down. Here, it has more of a... stick with me. I know you're about to type something, and I took too long to get to the actual reuse. This is actually a lot of Joe Fix-It. Same arms, same legs, same shoes with different paint job on them. You can see the tie poking out, but ooh, look at that purple and the pocket square. Jacket overlay is different. This one has just a button in the front. This one has a vest attached between the jacket. This was the Build-A-Figure Joe Fix-It that I've modified into the Smart Rhino. I think there was a single release of this Joe Fix-It in pinstripes. It's on my rainy day want list for that time when I don't have anything to buy. It's like, man, I haven't bought anything I really wanted for a little while. Might as well put this in the cart, click. But again, it's the overall feel that sold me on this. The toughness, it looks like a brick. Not the most mobile of bodies, it's single joints, but at the same time, the shape of this body would be moving a certain way. It'd be lumbering, but also powerful, just. But in case you don't want them mean mugging you the whole time, there's also an alternate head that's a bit more happy to be on the shelf now. I don't think this quite matches the look of the game. So again, this would slide effortlessly into a comic display. Or at least it's going to slide effortlessly into my comic display. There's also a pinky ring on the fist that you can replace with a relaxed hand. Well, I say relaxed. You can grip things, but not a tight grip. And then the right can be replaced with a tighter grip hand that can hold the cane with the jewel up on top. I think this came with the original release of Kingpin. Is that reuse? Is that the same sculpt? I can't seem to find the cane for mine. While we're swapping things around, will this go onto here? Skin tone definitely doesn't match. It's that new brighter skin tone, but will the hands swap out? Surely. Oh, they will. That kind of gives it the same, well, of course, it's the same size head and hands. It gives it that same tough look. Definitely got to paint the neck because it's visible. The new one, a lot more coverage with the overlays. Actually, I'd probably do this. Have the happy head over here on the comic one. And it may cover a little bit more. And then give this one the mean one. Or Dremel into this head a bit so it'll come down further. I noticed there is a little gap, like it's sitting high. If it came all the way down where this touched this, it would have that feel to it. Yeah, that's it. More like that. What? No, come back, hand! Not a lot of fear of the carpet monster getting this thing. Plus, you gotta admit, the paint apps are a lot better. The photoreal, the inkjet, oh, it adds so much more. Okay, I love this Spider-Man simply because it's 1977 Spider-Man. But I hate this Spider-Man because it doesn't do Spider-Man things. Okay, our expectations for super articulation at this point are crazy. And sometimes justified. I get it. Spider-Man, especially in the comic books, does some wacky things. And we want our figures to be able to emulate that with the legs up over the head and behind and the arms through and hunched all the way over, head up his own butt. I get it. And I do the same thing. I call it not perfect if the figure doesn't kick its own ass. But for something like the 1977 Spider-Man, where through most of that movie, he does this and this. I am pretty okay with the basic Marvel Legends articulation, especially since they went and made a fairly accurate head sculpt to match that look. It's not perfect. There should probably be some dots in the eyes, but it's dang close. The new belt and web shooter are pretty spiffy just because there's silver cartridges going around, and I never knew that Spider-Man's face was the belt buckle. The movie starts off with just the costume, so you can take these off if you want to make it more accurate to that part. And I think there is a clasp right here in case you want to take that off. So yeah, here is earlier in the movie Spider-Man. Yeah. And then later in the movie, he puts the belt on. So it looks like that. Scanning through the movie real quick, I didn't catch this style of web shooter. So this may be from the TV show or something else, but I do see pictures of it when I search for 1977 Spider-Man. So I'm going to put it back on simply because it adds to the overall costume. Something that we don't usually see on Spider-Man's, because as for the rest of the body, the costume, the figure, it's Spider-Man. It's got the blues, it's got the reds. Notice around the neck area that these webs don't line up. That is semi-accurate to the 70s costume. Although in live action, it wasn't as much of a break as it was the lines not lining up. So it's either Hasbro trying to emulate that with paint alone, or the tampos didn't match up. Either or. Really, it's dude in suit, just like we saw on the show. Although I will point out that the figure is way more muscular than Nicholas Hammond. It's a shame we didn't get his unmasked head with this, but that may be a likeness rights thing or something. I don't know. For accessories, there's these two web splats, which a lot of the time when he shot webbing, it just kind of, but it was more of a and then float down because it was a very light material. Unless he was shooting a web line, and that was just rope. So that's exactly what we got with this, a piece of string. But I think my favorite accessories are the alternate relaxed hands, because that was most of his Spider-Man things in the 70s. When he was wall crawling, it wasn't actually sticking to the wall. It was just the actor being pulled up the wall and him just kind of. And even when he was web shooting, it was more of a relaxed hand because he was just getting out of the way of however they did the. Like I said a minute ago, most of the movie he's running around like this. I guess because it's more spider-like, just kind of. I mean, you can get spider poses, but again, it almost looks wrong for this version of the character. Hell, even when he was swinging, he looked like a guy just holding on for dear life. In fact, the first swing, when he shot up into that tree that bowed over several times, it was more of a come down and just... To do the swing, I took the bracelet off, put the string in, put it back on, and it's nice and tight. It'll hold up the figure to swing it around. So yeah, maybe not everybody's cup of tea. Maybe you don't like the classic Spider-Man, but that's the good thing about Marvel Legends. They're gonna keep making Spider-Mans, and more Spider-Mans, and different Spider-Mans, and extra maximum Spider-Mans, and not so maximum Spider-Mans. Here's this, here's that, multi-packs, singles, waves. Everyone gets a Spider-Man. I just happen to like a bunch of different iterations. Doesn't matter. Getting into the Amazon exclusive Madame Masque and Crossbones 2-pack, I was more than happy to pre-order this because the first Madame Masque was so bad that it has disappeared from my collection completely, and I'm always looking to upgrade Crossbones. I really like that this is just a beefy guy in tactical gear. Is this his look from when Winter Soldier when Bucky came back, about that time, maybe? I haven't kept up in more recent times, but I like this look. It is a huge upgrade over this out of proportion, out of date figure. We got this several times. This may be the San Diego multi-pack version, or not. I can't remember. The one thing I do like here is the crossbones on the chest. I wish this had that, even though I know this is based on a specific look, but it does have a little crossbones sculpted here. Look at the head difference and then the arm difference. Oh, Marvel Legends has come a long way. Yes, there's been some step backs in places, but for the most part, we could still be getting these. There is still something to be said about the classic comic book Crossbones, though. I always loved that his mask was the skull, and then the chest was the skull and crossbones. It's essentially dude in tights, and again, older Marvel Legends body with the big pec shelf, and the arms hanging low, and the legs spread out. It seems like forward momentum looking at this compared to those other two. It took me a minute to realize it, but the upper body, the torso under the gear, and then the arms are from modern Luke Cage, which is fine by me. That gives him some toughness, because that's also under a thick overlay that doesn't, well, okay, I guess you could see it as sticking up too far, and it makes the neck go away, and that makes the shoulder seem low here too. But then you look at the gear, and the pouches, and a pouch, and a pouch, and a pouch, pouch, even some pouches on the back with some nice little details like this fake strap. But hey, the buttons are painted. You know I love that shit. I also love that they sculpted the mask parts. It's not just a blank head with this painted on. There is an edge to the white, and then you can even see a slight bit of puffiness to the leathery black. Oh, they painted the zipper up the middle too. Love it. I think the vest is new, and the same with the belt. There's just a lot of intricate sculpt there, and no paint to the buttons, but they did catch those rounds on this belt hanging low. They also got a splash of color with these grenades on the back. Not painted, that's actually separate plastic pegged onto the belt. Took me a while to realize the lower half. That is the modern style Hercules that is older than the Luke Cage used up here. There's pinless elbows, but pinned knees. I get a little flex down there, and I'm starting to come around to the pinless side. I know, after all this time, I still don't care aesthetically whether it's pinned or pinless because it's toys, but the more and more we get pinless, the more I realize that it's a bit more. Now, you can still get wobbly joints even with pinless, but they seem more solid for the most part. But I've also had more frozen joints when it comes to pinless because of the manufacturing process, I guess. And at my core, I am a customizer, so I miss being able to heat it up, swap out the lower legs or the upper legs just by pulling the pins. The boots aren't Hercules. I'm not sure if these were somebody else, but hey, they look tactical. Madam Masque, after doing some comparisons with promo pictures, this is a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent body, and I don't have any of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to compare. But looking at that, there is the sculpted zipper up at the top, slightly zipped down at the collar. You have the same belt. I like that the gold pops this belt buckle. And the rest is just paint. The lines around the biceps, around the thighs, running up and down the legs, the gold. I'm unfamiliar with this design, but I am perfectly fine with this as Madam Masque because, well, mostly because of this. She's wearing a mask. There's also an alternate head that looks more like makeup. Maybe it's a mask? I'm not sure. But more than that, I usually prefer straight down. Well, not straight down, but less windswept. I may have to try swapping hairs on this. The peaks on the front look the same. Would they match up? Surely. Pinless double elbow, pinless double knee. She has the torso going around. It's not the newest, it's not the latest and greatest, but it'll work for Madam Masque. Meanwhile, Crossbones is pretty hindered because of this. I mean, it still goes up and around, and the elbows are double and goes up to here, and then the knees are double and goes up to here, and kicks forward. The belt doesn't get in the way because it can ride up. I mentioned I really like the gray, especially with the black and everything, but your eye is focused on this bright white mask. Quite a few accessories here, which is nice for a multi-pack. Have a rifle, mostly in black plastic, but a little red down here, and yeah, out of the package, mine has the barrel bent slightly. Have a couple of pistols to match that rifle, and they're not the same pistol. This one has a longer ammo and red on it, and then some kind of sight up on top. Obviously have to have trigger finger hands to use those. I mean, he also does some punching, but if he's got guns, why not give him guns? We were pushing and twisting. There's also the knife we've seen more than a few times. You can put that in the sheath on his hip. Madame Masque also has a couple of pistols, one with a suppressor of some kind. I think we've seen these too, maybe not in gold, but it goes with her color scheme. And I don't think she needs the really big spread out hands. She's not wielding any magic or hailing any cabs. Bloop. We've also seen these blast effects before. Maybe the Black Widow pack, maybe somewhere else, but you have 2 shooties and 2 smokies. And all the guns do have an open barrel, a port on the end. There's an explosion that we've also seen before. Again, I think it was a White Widow, but this may be my favorite accessory, this AIM briefcase that opens up and, oh, what? Money! That's what all bad guys want, right? Money. I have a Madame Masque on the shelf again. It may be modern, but you know what? I'm perfectly fine with that because the costume is nice looking. It's dynamic. And then an upgraded Crossbones to go along with her. Well, will you look at that? My preferred face under my preferred hair, and it's easier than I thought it'd be. My plan was to heat up both heads, rip off the hair pieces, swap them, and hope for the best, because that's not an exact science. Most of the time, it's just caked with glue and a big, huge peg running like a mohawk down the middle. So you rip, you flip inside out, you slice, you snip, you clip, and at the end, it could be a mess, which makes it a pain in the ass to try to put it on another head and make it lay as natural as it did on the first one. So I wasn't looking forward to it. I pulled it out of the hot water, I grabbed in order to start ripping on the hair and realized, wait a second, what is this seam line? And would you look at that? The other one has it too. So while it was hot, I stuck a screwdriver in there and pop. The face is a separate piece from the head under the hair. And after I popped both of them, I found that this pattern, these pegs, this system, and the hair shape is essentially the same on both heads. It was a simple matter of just swapping those. Now, on this face and this head, I'm able to just put it back on there without heating it up again. It's not perfect. It still has a slight gap, but in most poses, I will never see it. More importantly, it looks okay at the hairline. The masked head, I don't know if it's because of the swirly twirly material or what, but it wouldn't go back on after cooling off. For some reason, I couldn't get it to go under the hair, but heating it up again, it made this soft. It went right on, and it fits a little better, actually. So this is how I'm leaving it, because this is exactly what I wanted. I don't know if that setup it has been done on other recent figures or not. I haven't noticed it, and I don't know if they did that on purpose. And because it wasn't meant to be swapped. There was glue in there. I had to pry it with a screwdriver to get them off, but it benefited me. That's what matters, I guess. Let's go ahead and get after this San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Savage Land set, because I hate that this is not available or wasn't widely available after the con. They put the G.I. Joe Classified Series Cold Slither set up after San Diego. I don't know why they couldn't have done that with this. I think it did pop up a couple times, but it was quick, in and out. It's dumb because Shanna completes a team that they've been building. Looking at her first, again, it may not be the most recent version of the female body. It doesn't have this upside down hinge at the waist, but there's still a ball up top that is nicely hidden by the overlay. And that just has that animal hide look with the torn edges flipped over here and tattered. The wrapped bracers on the arm have an arm band up here on the bicep with a little stitching, and then smaller wraps on the left side. Oh, and I just noticed it looks like it's tied off right there too. But other than that, it's a blank female body. Oh, well, with a Shanna head. Once again, the windswept hair is not my favorite, and this is just whipping, going across with some curls and stuff. But since it's the only head we get with her, I guess I'll live with it. Is there a swappable faceplate here? Nope. A nicely painted head with hair, so I can't complain too much. Looking at Rogue, it's essentially the same thing. A blank female body with some torn, tattered overlays. It is the same loincloth, just with less paint. I don't know how... Oh, well, I guess it's her costume, isn't it? Which makes more sense when you look up here. There's the yellow top, green underneath, X logo. She also has the gloves with the cuffs, which is very Rogue, but then some bicep wraps. Different boots, too. Well, okay, same feet, same lower legs with the wrinkles, but up at the top, again, this is supposed to be animal fur. This is supposed to be costume. So this looks like it was ripped and then fell down into perfect cuffed boots. Now that is style. She also has some costume tied around her leg just to throw some asymmetry in there. Different skin tones. Shanna is very light complected while Rogue has a more tan look to her. There's also this bone necklace, either claws or teeth or something. And then the head, which is the big talking point with this figure. Again, the sweeping hair, it's the only option. I can't complain too much. It's coming out. There are some whips. And then the front of the hair, just, you know, the Savage Land is humid. So the hair tends to go down. I don't mind that either. I do mind this. And it's not that it's a bad sculpt or look or anything. It just doesn't remind me of Rogue. This is more Miley Cyrus. And I've heard people say other names and such, but I didn't know a lot of those singers or actresses or whoever. But Miley Cyrus, my kids did watch that back in the day, so I see that in this sculpt. Marvel Legends has an aesthetic that they hold to a lot of the times. When they try to go a little too lifelike or likeness, it tends to stand out against the rest of them. Let's see what this does, because I have a Outback Rogue extra that I've been working on a custom, and the skin tones don't match. In fact, is that more Shanna's skin tone? Yeah. But I like the hair better and the overall look. It looks like comic Rogue. What about this? The Target exclusive Jim Lee Rogue. What the hell? Why does that sit up so high? Skin tone wouldn't match anyway. The Pyro 2-pack Rogue head sits high too, but the skin tone's closer and the facial expression feels Savage Landy, you know? I wonder what would happen if we swapped hairs. That may be a play day for another day. That doesn't seem as quick and easy as the Madame Masque. Yes, they did paint bikini bottoms underneath, but I'm not sure about the top. That is either glued on or very, very tight. And I'm not looking at that to be perverted. It's more, how would this work as a blank female base body? Which I'm assuming is another one. So maybe it's Shriek or something under there, because that seems to be the same setup. Yeah, more than likely. Although the abs seem a bit more defined, but I may not be able to see him here because of the costume design. But then there's Sauron, and I'm gonna say it, I like this way better than the old one, even if it is the exact same figure for the most part. Well, one, it holds together better than the Build-A-Figure. I think it's mostly the darker colors, or well, the darker greens and the lighter orangey yellows. The highlights are more defined on the Savage Land set, like on the torso. Yeah, it's probably just psh, psh, whoosh, on the biceps, on the front of the legs, where on the old one, it was a bit more subtle. Well, actually, there's nothing on the legs. It's more subtle on the torso. It's more of just a... There's more of a contrast to the wings, mostly because the dark green is more defined here, and then the lighter green, or the yellowish, is going more towards it. This kind of fades more in between the two colors. They did change the crotch cover. On the original, it was brown cloth, ripped with a rope painted, and then some pouches going around the waist. On the San Diego set, it's just purple cloth. Well, I guess there is rope there. That could have been painted a brown rope color, unless he had purple rope. The legs are... I can't get everything on camera because of the wings. The legs are a new sculpt. Not only are they pinless, but they have different scales to them. They're very similar, but you can see the thickness difference. I don't have the Spider-Man No Way Home lizard out here. Is this using that? Okay, I had to go dig it out, and no, they are not the same legs. It's close. It has the larger scales on front, the lizard hide on the back, but look at the kind of sagginess to the lizard legs, different wrinkles here, different sizes to the knees, and then below that is definitely different. But they do share a torso. They've been rocking that for, many years. The San Diego set does have the claws painted on the feet, though. The tail is also different, too. On the original, it has just a reptilian texture all the way down, and this bigger feather on the end. The new one, or the San Diego one, has a smaller feather or smaller end of tail. And then as it gets closer to the body, it has more scales to match up the texture on the body. But you want to know my favorite thing? It's that. The hypno eyes. The Build-A-Figure had red eyes, which is fine. When Sauron wasn't hypnotizing people or stealing their life energy, he just had eyes. But man, that adds that comic book wackiness that I love so much. You shall sleep. I don't know what a humanoid pterodactyl sounds like. To make it even more comic funky, there are these eye blasts, or was it the hypno effect coming out? But you plug those into the nostrils and I love it. It works so good. Then there's the standard assortment of female hands for Shanna and Rogue, along with knives for each. Well, I got Shanna holding hers already. There's a hunting rifle. Shanna has a spear that looks exactly like the one that came with her husband. That's why she's holding the knife and not the spear. I didn't want them both having the same weapon. And then Rogue gets a repainted Craven spear, I think that is, with the feathers and the beads on the end. All in all, it's a nice set, but I got it simply for Shanna and an upgraded Sauron. Rogue is okay. I know why they made her, but I would have preferred a Savage Land Mutate or somebody. And this is the recent Mattel Jurassic Park Hammond Collection Stegosaurus. I saw it the other day, or well, a while back, and thought, well, that can go with my Savage Land, and it looks pretty good. Going from one hard-to-get set to another, here's the Target exclusive Gamerverse Psylocke and Thanos. And I'm gonna say it, I like one of these figures a lot more than I thought I would, and it's Thanos. Don't get me wrong, I am happy to finally have probably the best Ninja Betsy that's ever been produced. And yes, I'm counting the Mafex too, simply because of how this looks exactly like this. This figure cuts one hell of a vanilla pose, standing on the shelf, just yearbook. That's not to say she can't pose around. It is stiffer than I was expecting. She's got the double joints, but there's also a thickness to things that kind of get in the way of some range of movement. I've talked about the latest and greatest several times in this video, and that's the crunch at the waist and then the dumbbell in the upper torso. So you get some tilt and rotation out of that. But even then, I mean, yes, it does this and then back, which a lot of times, especially with older females, you can only do this. There's also some butterfly to it going forward and back. She's agile, okay? I don't feel the need to pose her around because of how good she looks like this. And that may be my own personal bias shining through a bit, because to me, oh, well, no, before we get, I am happy to have this Ninja Psylocke. Again, I think this is the main shelf version, just based on how it looks like this. But can a guy get an Outback Betsy? Either in the pink frilly costume or the armored look, or both. I'd take either of them. I've got enough ninjas at this point. And now I have the ninja. It's time to move on. A lot of people talked about how this is locked in a 2-pack with this Thanos, but I do not see Hasbro only using this new body specifically for this character one time, because these wraps on the legs are sculpted, these wraps on the upper arm sculpted, this belt in this exact position sculpted. Maybe they're planning a single release or a retro card down the road, comic, different head to look more like Jim Lee, maybe with more purple to the hair. That's another thing I like about this. Black hair with the purple highlights. It's not just blatantly purple, but it's there. But maybe they can do a comic version in a different shade for the costume. This does look good. Again, not my favorite version of this character, but I'm really, really liking this. Now, again, we have our Mafexes, we have our amazing Yamaguchis, we have our older Marvel Legends. Overall, I think this takes all of them. Except maybe in the accessory department. I'm going to jump the gun to that because I want to gripe about no right fist. Why? She has fist left and grip right, even though there is nothing to grip. She has ninja poke right and left, and then splayed out left. She has her psychic knife, the focused totality of her telepathic powers. That is so burned in my brain. They use that every issue in the 90s. And that's meant to go around the fist. Well, okay. Let's see if it'll go around. It'll go around the grip hand. And if you do this, you'll never know, but you'll know. Shit, I just pulled out an old one. I don't know if this was the last one or just an old one I had laying around, but I have the psychic knife on the left there and a grip on the right. Did she not have a right fist either? That is different sculpts though. Is that an upgrade or not? If not, tell me why. There's also these effects, which are pretty cool, and I've seen stills from the game where she's spinning around and it's kind of a whoosh. But how in the hell do you put it on her? I know that there is a wrist clip, but there is not enough space for a hand to be on this side because the plastic comes down more than halfway into the wrist clip. Actually, it does clip on the hand. Is it supposed to be on the fingers where the grip hand kind of gets in there? It does clip down over the fist. I just wish there was a right fist because while it works over here, it's not as good. I did do this a few times where you just clamp it on the end, like the hand is all energy, and it looks okay. Behind the curtain looks funny. And then of course there is an alternate head with the windswept hair because action pose. And that is where you can use the butterfly effect over her eyes. I've seen some people have trouble with this, but all you got to do is jam it down into the hole over the ear. But you can't just push on the effect itself. If you do, it just flexes and you can't get a good shove on it. So what you want to do is start it in the hole, which is like this, get it that far, and then find something to pinch on so you can give it some actual push without bending it way back here. Then you take this side and there's a clip for that and ba-boom. I do dig that the hair is more purple underneath. That's nifty. But like I said, Thanos surprised me and it's mostly the colors. I'm not gonna lie. There is a lot of reuse going on, and now that I have it up here, I noticed that the plastic of the torso is a different sheen than the plastic of the limbs. The shoulder flares have been enhanced, elongated, exaggerated. I do believe these are new glove and boot tops too. And then the head is a new sculpt simply because of these longer horns, which in pictures I did not like at all. That's just not Thanos to me. But in person, it doesn't bug me as much as I thought it would. But what I really like is the purplish blue to the body, and more than that, this shiny orange. That is just breathtaking. It is eye-catching. Well, speaking of eyes, that's also what I really like about this figure. The skin tone, and then those eyes in shadow. The teeth, big smile. It's just very Thanos-y. This is definitely not going to take my comic book Thanos's place on the main shelf, but I also don't feel like throwing this in a tub either. It doesn't need to be packed away. It needs to be displayed somewhere. I just do not know how yet. More than that, that orange color really sets off the Infinity Stones on the back of his hand. I don't know why this does it for me, but it makes me not regret this purchase. Now, I definitely did want Psylocke, but I was like, oh, I have to buy Thanos to go with it. Now that I have it in hand, it looks pretty good. And no, I don't have a Marvel vs. Capcom display. I have some Street Fighters, and I have some Mega Mans. Am I starting a Marvel vs. Capcom display? Damn it. And then finally, there is this massive made-to-order Dragon Man that I'm going to look at before doing some assembly. There are some parts we got to plug on. This is my first time looking at the details. I haven't watched any reviews. I haven't seen anybody's opinions on this. I'm just going in cold. I'm assuming this is a... Oh, nope, it's a hinge up at the top. Huh, that's interesting. I thought with that much openness, it would be able to shift forward, and it can. Because if you tilt it down, you can still kick the head forward and look forward. So you can either put the neck at the back of the skull or at the front. I guess that just depends on what kind of look you want. This seems more... This is probably more ready for action or something. The eyes are a bit unnerving. The red with the yellow pupils in the middle. Very dragon, like, I guess. And the mouth does open, have a row of teeth up top, and a tongue, and teeth on bottom. I gotta think this big old butterfly oh, yep, goes forward, goes back. I bet I can go more forward if I lift the arm up. Pow! Oh! He can cross over. Lots of scale work with some highlighting to it, or some shade work, some overspray. A darker, almost glossy purple down the middle. It gives it a bit of a shimmer in places. Got some spikes on the back of the arm, along with double elbows. They do bend up to there because of the shape of the bicep. That is quite a bit past 90. Dumbbell at the oh, that is not bad crunch. Exposes the joint going back. Nice tilt. Rotation. Ball on a long bar coming out to the hips, goes forward and way out. That's better than some Spider-Mans. Thigh swivel does break up the sculpt, which was really apparent with that scale work on the outside, but hey, articulation, right? Made me realize I skipped over bicep swivel. Double knee. Oh, okay. Once you get it moving, it stays moving. Then we have the 3 toes, which I forgot to point out there are 3 fingers and a thumb, or 4 fingers, depending on your definition of fingers. Hinge back, hinge forward, and a toe joint goes up to there. The proportions do throw me a little bit, simply because of the mass in the arms and legs compared to the torso. And I guess that goes for length too. Look how far the arms hang down and how tall the legs are. But then the torso's here. Boop. Boop. But then look at the size of the cranium and the overall shape and the scales. It's a dragon, man. I'm not complaining about the proportions. I'm just saying it's odd and different and beautiful. They spruced up the shorty shorts with a seam line sculpted into the waistband and then some wrinkle work. Man, I keep going back and looking. I love these too. These big old brows. I guess it adds to the shape of the head, like everything streamlines to the back. And very beak-like. Pointy ears. It's a dragon. When it comes to wings, there are 2 options. There's these big spread out flying wings that is very nicely done. You have the purple for the insides and then orange to the membranes in between. And those actually fade from dark to light. And then the backs are all purple. I'm assuming that it's not going to be too tough since they are interchangeable. Well, okay, yeah, that plugged right in. And that looks pretty dang good. I guess you can spread it out even more if you want them full flight. The trench for the neck hinge does stop right there, which makes sense, I guess, because of the shape of his skull. It doesn't cover it if you go forward, but it's also the back. I wish it went back more so he could look up for flying. I say, knowing that I will probably never pose him in flight pose, because I'm going to use these alternate wings that are more relaxed, mostly because of shelf space. I'm just trying to save some room while displaying a kick-ass action figure. I don't know why this doesn't have orange like this, though. Isn't it the same wing, just less spread out? That would have added a nice splash of color behind the figure when it's on the shelf. Oh yeah, that looks nice. There's also a tail that has a bendy wire running through it. It's got the same scale pattern as the rest of the body. I'm putting this on hoping that it doesn't stick straight out all the time. Hopefully the bend comes around, because that does no good against a wall or a shelf. It's sticking out here. That's about as far forward as you can get it. But, oh well, no, now it's dragging it back. What are you doing? It may become a little back heavy depending on your pose, but you can use the tail as a kickstand. Just put it down on the ground. There are 2 fists, which is good to have. Hey, options are nice, but I think I'm gonna have the open clawed hands. They look a bit more Dragon Man-y, and he has some accessories to hold. Well, one accessory. He has this Future Foundation book with formulas and charts and graphs and writing on the inside. Said he could hold it. You gotta kind of just lay it in the fingers. That's not bad. It's not pinched in there. It'll fall if you bump the shelf, but it looks natural. Even more so if you give him his glasses, which can be odd. You find the bridge of the nose, you put them on there, and then you push down right in the middle, and Viola. Again, they're not super secure. You can just knock them off if you barely touch them. I may be doing it wrong, but he's big. He looks great next to regular figures. It stands at about, well, 10¼ inches to the top of the head, and then 11¼ to the top of the wing claws up here. So at the end of the day, this was too many Marvel Legends to open at the same time, but that's okay. I got to play. The pile was growing. I wanted to get stuff out of their boxes into the display or wherever they're gonna go. So I figured, you know, let's shoot them all at the same time. That's how it works. And honestly, all of these are winners in my book. They were all well, okay. Hello, Rogue. I didn't need you, but you exhibit some customizing potential. I may swap out the face, hair, try to do something. I don't know. Is it worth it? Why's your necklace all to the side? I love the Spider-Man and the Dragon Man and the Sauron upgrade and even the Kingpin. I'm glad I didn't pass on them. Crossbones is going in the display. Psylocke is building an even better Jim Lee team. We've built that team once, but it took so long that we're now coming back around and upgrading the figures that we already got. But that's how it goes. I mean, that's how technology in general goes, right? It gets better, and you want the better stuff. You can't regret buying the old stuff because at the time, that's what was new. But then it becomes old. Like me. Shanna's going with my ever-growing Savage Land display with Sauron. Did I mention him? Oh. She-Hulk's going on the Fantastic Four shelf. Jonah behind that desk somewhere. Now I can't see him without it. And then Madame Masque after the swap. I kind of love this figure. I want more figures with swappable faces, especially if there's hair options. And because there's usually the, you know, angry head or something under the hair I want to use, and then the neutral face under the windswept. I would love an easy option for options. Well, okay, Thanos may hang out in a tub until I figure out my Gamerverse situation, but the majority here is fantastic. Even the ones I'm not really gonna use on the shelf. So, I don't regret any of these purchases, and that's what it comes down to, right? I do feel kind of bad showing some of these now that they're not available. Again, the Savage Land set should be on Hasbro Pulse. The Psylocke and Thanos should be available on Target and Hasbro Pulse. And I can say things like, well, surely they're not gonna let that new unique Psylocke sculpt go to waste. They don't have to do jack and or shit. So, I mean, I'm sorry that it seems like I'm flaunting it, but I just wanted to take a look at it and get it in the display. So, yeah, I guess it's the same for Dragon Man, right? But like, they did bring that back, so maybe it'll get a third round at some point. I don't know. If you enjoyed the video, take it as you will. You know, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings or anything. I'm just playing with toys. Bye.